Can you hear me? See me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Perfect. Me too.
Cool.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. I hope our new year, takes a turn for the better. How could I put it? However, I have to say, it gave me an opportunity to slow down.
Yes.
And I stayed very by myself for a while, just to stay safe. And it was fine. It was different for me.
Me too. I'm a very fast mover. I very seldomly sit still. So it was kind of a good thing in some senses for me.
Yeah, it was like a forced rest.
Yes.
It was good. I was glad I did it because then I felt much more secure and that, and I didn't go around with lots of people or anything like that. And luckily I have a rather large terrace with a beautiful view where I live on the Lower East Side. I view the river. And, the weather was really cool. I stayed a lot on my terrace and hung out with my dogs, and then I would invite somebody over because it was outdoors, and that worked out well.
Oh, good. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. Well, I'm really excited to be sitting down with you today, and you're our very first guest of 2021. So let's kick this off on a great note.
Yes.
So, Patricia, I'm seeing a lot of people joining. So thank you guys, everyone who's tuning in today, and welcome for our first Women Who Do of 2021. I'm so excited that 2020 was an amazing year of speakers, but couldn't be more excited to kick this year off. And for anyone that's tuning in for the very first time today, I'm Jessie Gray Rubenstein, and this is the Women Who Do series. So again, if this is your first time watching, this series was truly created with my grandmother's vision in mind. She was someone who stood for strength and empowerment and was always forward looking. So now more than ever, her message is so critical. So we're here to honor that message, and really what better woman to do that with than Patricia Field. So thank you again for joining us.
Carrying on her legacy. I mean, she's more from my time than your time. So when her granddaughter decided to do this, I was like, oh, that's one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever hold a candle, but I'm going to try.
Well, a very positive influence, that's for sure.
Growing up with stories about her, it certainly raised the bar high, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, Patricia, again, I know your schedule's crazy, so thanks again for being here. And I'm personally a huge fan of both you and a lot of the work that you've done. So I went to actually FIT. I'm in fashion, so very, I've always really looked up to your work. So super excited to hear a little bit more today. So for everyone watching out there, a lot of you guys know this, but Patricia really led the style and the vision for all of the looks in The Devil Wears Prada, Sex and the City, Ugly Betty, and the new show that I just spent one night binging. I was supposed to spend that night getting some work done, and I, by myself, ate some Thai food and watched all of Emily in Paris. It was amazing. So I'd say like my overall halo question for today is, how are you always on the pulse and just like setting the coolest trends in fashion?
That's a question that I sometimes find hard to answer. Basically, I just see something and I say, oh, that looks good. I like it. And then it's something else. And, there's really not a trend formula or anything like that. It's just what pleases my eye and, of course, applies to the particular actress who's playing the role. But I will say that, you know, Sarah Jessica was a lot of fun to work with because she's very fashion. So we kind of spoke the same language. Um, and she was innovative in her own way. And that was really pleasant because I usually I say if I'm a good tennis player, I want to play with another good tennis player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it makes it better, more interesting. And that's really, as far as I'm concerned, I want to throw Sarah Jessica that kudo. I always do, though, because it's true.
There is this one belt. It's like she wore it in the movie, I believe it was the first one. It's like this large studded belt.
Yes, she loved it, and she named it Roger.
So
It had,
I personally I saw that belt and I was obsessed with it. And I bought a million thick belts after that and started wearing them over all of my coats and over
yeah,
everything.
I love belts.
Me too. Big belt person.
I use them a lot. You know, it. The main thing about a belt is that it defines the waist.
Mm-hmm.
Whether over a coat or over a dress or over a pant or whatever. It's a focus and defining the waist. Oh, look, one of my very able-bodied staff just brought me the belt because there are a few mementos from Sex in the City that
Oh my
people
God.
people always email us for. So we're always sure to have them, like let's say the tutu and just certain special items, that the name necklace. They
Mm-hmm.
love them. And so it's like I have my little art gallery here. It's through the years I've worked with artists in my shop. And when I sold my shop, I thought, well, now what's next? And I said, I'm going to do an art gallery. And I called all the artists that I worked with. And um, I opened up this art gallery up on the Lower East Side. And everything is either one of a kind or custom made. And it's a complete melange of the different artists' styles. You know, one is not like the other. We have Stud Muffin, who does many studded hats and shorts and things. I'm not trying to
That's cool.
trying to really describe the variation.
No, you need a visual.
Yeah, individual, one of a kind. I'll put it on.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I'm happy to, you know, have this conversation with you. Uh, respect your grandmother, who's very important. And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, I was reading all about, this artist collaboration that you've started. Was there like a specific inspiration for starting that? How did that kind of like come to be?
For ARTFashion,
Yeah.
you mean? Well, as I said, I was, when I sold my store, I didn't want to just quit, but I wanted to reduce the responsibility. And because I was sitting in my shop one day in my basement office, and I realized that I've been in the fashion retail business for 50 years. And I said, oh my God. And people were very often wanting to buy my location. And I would always refuse them because I like my location. But when I realized that, I said, you know what? This is ridiculous. I'm still sitting here at my desk doing the same thing, having all this responsibility. It's time to move on. And that's how that happened. Um, and the gallery is a little piece of the experience.
Hmm.
And I welcome and invite anyone that would love to visit us. We're on East Broadway, the number 200 East Broadway. And we love when people come in, many stylists come in. And I have a beautiful staff of 3 here who are all A+.
Oh, are you there right now?
Yes, they're here. Would you like to meet them?
Sure, I'd love to get a little tour.
Okay, here's Barb. Barbie, you could take your mask off for a second. This is Barbie. Barbie is in charge of all of our social media.
Hello, everyone.
And she's great.
Great to meet you.
Them are just great in what they do. Then comes...
Oh, and Barbie, shout out the social media so everyone can follow.
See, she's shy, but...
So everyone should follow us at Patricia Field. We're everywhere you can find us on Twitter. We're at Pat_Field. Facebook is Patricia Field ARTFashion. Thanks, guys.
And I see here comes Michael, who manages the gallery and does many.
Ooh, I love your jacket, Michael.
Thank you. This is by one of our artists, Sex Fifth Avenue.
Stand up and model it. And I don't know if that's possible. I tried it on yesterday, but it was I can handle big clothes, but that was a little too big. So I said, Michael, try it on.
That is epic.
Did.
It's nice.
Great on you.
The basis is a denim jacket, and it's trimmed with fur and eyelets and grommets.
So fun.
I love these kids.
Can we see the rest of the space? The art piece behind you looks beautiful too.
By Scooter LaForge, one of our artists from when we started. And I love his work. It's very original, very recognizable, and he's really built up a wonderful following. He does clowns and monsters, and they're kind of all like happy. If they're a happy monster. So, his work is very well done, but endearing at the same time. Yeah. And then I didn't introduce you to Erica, who is not only my personal assistant, bar none, but lately she's been accompanying me on my TV projects. We went to Paris.
Yep.
For Darren Star, for Emily.
Paris.
And we recently did this other project.
For Stars called Run the World.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
I want to say she could say it for me, and she does.
And back to the star.
Back to me.
Well, great to meet everyone. And next time I'm in New York, I need to come by.
I would love it. Please do. Where do you operate from?
I'm in Los Angeles, but I'm a born and bred New Yorker. I grew up in the West Village, and I lived in New York through school, through college, and moved out to LA about a year and a half ago.
Oh, so you're a newbie.
I'm a newbie, yes.
Yeah, that TV show that I the most recent one that I did is Run the World, and all of the actresses, it's 4 actresses, who the story is Harlem. They live in Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
So they all came to New York to do this show, as well as the executive producer and the writer. They're all from your town.
Wow.
Yeah.
All of us in New York.
Marilyn and Antonin are watching from Paris. They say hi. So
Oh,
give them a shout out.
Marilyn, who is the designer of Emily in Paris. I'm what am I called? The consultant. But Marilyn is brilliant. I mean, I went to Paris. She's got a team, so professional. because I know Paris, but I don't know Paris the way I know New York, for example. And it all went brilliantly. Beautiful.
Wow.
Hi.
Where was like the inspiration from the clothing? Because what I loved is like how different Emily and like Camille's style. It was so different but so unique, and each one of them, their looks were fabulous. Like, where did you guys pull all of this together from?
Well, thank God for my team, because, you know, they took me to all the right places. The assistants, the young assistants, and mainly Paris. Before we left for Paris, Lily Collins came to my gallery, and that was our first meeting, and we tried some clothes on just for me to get a little bit of a feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and for her to get a feeling of me as well. And then when I went to Paris, and you know, I was amazed at this department. I had two great assistants, Marie and Antonin. They were fabulous. So, you know, made my life easy. Whatever I see and I like it, I like it. If I like it, I'll find a place for it. You know, that's basically how I operate. I don't really think about, I don't like to confuse myself with outside influences, if you know.
Totally.
I want to stay pure and fun and me.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, it's been working out okay.
Do you find a lot of the brands or new brands you're interested in through social media or digital, or are you doing a lot of it kind of in person on the ground?
Well, in general, I really do prefer in person on the ground, because I like to touch everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a chiffon, it could be a silk chiffon or it could be a polyester chiffon. I want the silk chiffon because it moves.
Mm-hmm.
The polyester is stiff. So you don't really get an accurate picture of, unless you can see it and touch it and be with it. So I do prefer that, although I will say, you know, online makes it easy. Like today, I was looking for a sweater for a friend of mine's grandmother, designed by Marnie, and looked it up, and there it was. And so, you know, I can't say I like this, I don't like that. They each have their strong points, their
Pros and cons.
reasons for being.
Mm-hmm.
Say that I feel terrible about Century 21 having closed down.
I know.
I love Century 21. Because you never know what you're going to find. And it could be a never made sample, or it could be, you know, oh my God, I don't know how to replace Century 21. It's been on my mind to call a friend of mine who was the buyer for Century. We came up together at the time. But I haven't gotten to it yet. But I'll tell Erica, please remind me to call Vivian Abrams.
Got it.
Yeah, I grew up going there. So I hear you.
Yeah.
So Patricia, one question I always love to ask, there's actually two I like to ask on every show, is number one, I find it so fascinating how different women kind of organize their routines. Some people are more about like a routine-based schedule. That's probably me. And then others kind of have a different free form every day. Can you walk us through like a day in your world, from like when you get up, like how you conduct your mornings, and what a day in Patricia Field's life looks like?
Yes, well, my day always starts with a bath.
Hmm.
Many years ago, I learned to enjoy a bath. It's good for your muscles. It's good for whatever. And so that's how I always start my day. And I also start my day with my doggies of 2 sisters, 2 poodles, who are getting on now, which makes me sad. But after those 2 particular things, my day could develop in any crazy way. For example, crazy, but for example, here I am. We're doing this interview. Um, I don't know, tomorrow will be another day. Sometimes I feel, oh, okay, it's getting to be too much. I need to like take a deep breath, relax. And then sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do. I need to do something. So, I have that energy, and as long as I don't overplay it, I'm fine.
Is there a way that you like to kind of wind down at the end of the day? Do you have like a ritual of some sort?
Lately I've been having a Chianti ritual.
Same.
And old who lives nearby often comes over. I make something quick. We drink a Chianti. I have one before he comes while I'm making something quick. And I think that's my ritual lately, and my bath. That's something that, you know, I obviously enjoy, so I keep it up.
Good. I'm all for the Chianti ritual. That's one of mine as well.
Yeah. I like Chianti because it's fruity but not sweet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't like sweet one, but I like the fruit. I don't care for something too dry. I like the fruitiness of Chianti.
Me too, and the kind of like fullness.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, my second question.
Yes.
Who are the women in your life that inspire you?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, I tell you that I'm very inspired by Cleopatra. She's not in my life because she was from another time, but I recommend anyone to read that book. Um, it's called Cleopatra, and it's by, oh my God, what? Erica, who is that by? Cleopatra. That's just a life. Cleopatra, a life. Anyway, I heard.
Stacy Schiff.
Yes, Stacy Schiff is the author, and it's so well written. Um, I heard they're going to make a movie, but I don't know if really that's going to get me into something else. It's like I don't consider myself like a historian costume designer. My favorite costume designer is much more of a historian. Um, she did um, what?
Maria.
Yeah, Marie Antoinette, the recent one. Her name is
Oh, I love that movie.
Melina Canonero. She's great.
Mm-hmm.
I really respect her as a costume designer, and I'm a tough cookie to but yeah, and she did such a beautiful job, and I've watched her movies. As a matter of fact, she was sitting right behind me when we were both nominated for the Oscar. I was The Devil Wears Prada, and I don't remember what Marie was. Maybe Marie was Marie Antoinette. Either way, I respect her. For me, respect is the most important thing. You know, respect implies a reason, like intelligence, which is very important, intelligence. So that's about who I'm really into. But I've had wonderful, colleagues, assistants who grew into becoming their own costume designers, and I call it my school of costume designers.
This is that's a good lead into I'm just reading some of the awesome comments and questions that people sent in. And Janine8 asks if you always wanted to be a costume designer.
No, I never even thought of being a costume designer. I went to NYU. I studied government, civics, philosophy. And when I graduated, I was like, I don't know what I want to do really. But I knew that I could handle like fashion business. And I started out and I went to work for a discount department store called Alexander's, which no longer exists. And from there went on to another company. And after maybe about 4 years, I opened up my own shop because I knew I could do that. And I wouldn't be bored. I didn't want to have a profession that was too dry. And I love people. And that's one of the nice parts about the retail business. People come in off the street. You never know who they are, where some you open up a relationship, some come and go. But I love the retail aspect, especially in New York City.
Candy Pratt's Price.
Oh, what, Candy Pratt's Price, for example?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Barbie's telling me to tell a story. That's she worked. She worked most recently, I think, for Vogue, but she was a famous window trimmer. And that windows were very dramatic, and she was doing the set designs for this film called Lady Beware. And Karen Arthur, who was the director, asked her for a recommendation for a costume designer. And Candy gave her my name. And I said, all right, I never did that before, so let me for it. And that was how that's a story I always love to tell because, Candy, she didn't have to tell Karen Arthur about me, She was kind of putting her neck out unless she really believed in me with no experience and so on. So I love that story, and I still see Candy to this day.
Wow. Isn't it wild how just like a situation like that can change the direction of your entire life?
Absolutely, because I did that movie, and and the director gave me a good support because there are technical things about creating a movie or a TV show that you have to know. And, so she gave me really good support in that area. And then I learned it. But when I went in there, I had no idea of how you organize it by scene and so on, whatever. So you never know where it takes you. But I guess it took me to beautiful places and still does.
That's an incredible story.
One of my favorites. I really love Candy. She was so generous in her recommendation of me. And I just, I was very touched by it. Let me say that.
Did you know she was going to recommend you?
No. I think I'm trying to remember. It was like way back when. It was late. It was after 85. It was around 85. I guess she called me and said, I'm working on this movie. It was starring Diane Lane. And she's a window trimmer, and I'm doing all the set designs in the windows. And I recommended you to do the clothes. That the director asked her if she had a recommendation. And so she recommended me. So she's responsible for all the chaos.
Amazing. Well, major shout out to Candy.
Right. Andy.
Patricia, I think we have time for one last question. I'm just looking through all of the amazing comments here. Let's see. Here's a good one. Someone asks if you had a hard time coming up as a woman in the fashion industry.
Oh, if I have a hard time. No, not really. You know what? I never really had a hard time coming up as a woman first. I had strong women in my childhood, and I was, I learned to be secure. It was natural. I wasn't doubting myself. I wasn't criticized. So in the fashion industry, I mean, I remember a time that I must have been about, maybe 6, 5, and I had my favorite outfit, and it was a cowgirl outfit with a vest and cowboy boots and a holster and the whole works and a cowboy hat. And that was my aunts, who were my mom's younger sisters. They used to really enjoy me putting on my cowboy outfit, cowgirl outfit. So, that was the kind of inspiration and support that I lived with. And so I don't feel that I ever was inhibited by, you know, things of what's going to happen to me, what am I going to do, blah, blah. I just did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in Queens, and I used to have little stores outside my family house and sell things, and I was free to be, which is the best thing, free to be. Too much control is not good. Set them loose.
Well, I think that's an excellent note to end on. Set them loose.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. This was an incredible way to kick off the year.
Yeah. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year, guys. Sorry, go ahead.
And healthy as well. Happy.
Yes. Happy, healthy, safe, sanitized, sane New Year. And for everyone that's out there watching, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We're so glad to have you and truly appreciate all the terrific questions and comments. And remember to join us. We'll be back on the 20th to sit down with Alana Hadid. She is one of the beautiful Hadid sisters who is using her influence for charitable causes. So we'll talk more about that next time. And remember to follow us on Anne Klein Official on Instagram and Anne Klein on Facebook for all updates around women who do. Thank you again, Patricia, and have a wonderful rest of your day and your week.
Thank you, dear. Thank you very much.
And I'll see you when I'm back in New York.